I don't even know where to start with this video. Look, I know I'm late to the party. Like, really late to the party. But I just had to put my thoughts out there. And I also know that in my last 2 videos, I said that I was not even sure I was going to watch this show. I'd only seen the first 2 episodes. And, by the way, I stand by what I said at the time. Watching this was like watching a comedy. An unintentional comedy. But this wasn't like when someone tells you a joke and you enjoy it and just laugh. This was pain-filled laughter throughout. I literally never knew how I was supposed to even react when watching this. This isn't like when you watch a movie that's so bad it's good. This isn't like watching The Room. This isn't watching high art like watching Mega Shark vs. Giant Octopus. No, this show is so terrible that if you take away everything that has to do with Lord of the Rings, you take away the brand, the cheap callbacks, and all the controversy surrounding its release, and all that you're left with is this unbelievably boring, lazy, snail-paced, yet still uneventful, overpriced, predictable excuse of a show. But what's this? Over 95% of you are not subscribed yet? We gotta change that. So if you like the content, hit that big red subscribe button, drop a like on the video, and now, let's move on with this shit show. Now you may have noticed which was the first adjective I used to describe this, right? Boring. Because this show is one boring ass wet turd that needs to be seen to be believed. Look, your story can have plot holes. The story can make no sense. Or it can be slow as fuck. But if there's one thing that you don't want your story to be, is boring. And that would be fine, you know? Writing good stories isn't easy. Millions of people watch certain movies and TV shows and suddenly everyone turns into a movie critic when they leave the theater.
Shark still looks fake.
Even though we are technically judging one of the 8 forms of art itself. And on top of that, you got a bunch of dickheads with YouTube channels that start rambling. But when the vast, and I do mean the vast majority of people say the same thing about your show, you know you did something wrong. And this show was doomed from the moment they decided to pack this supposed adaptation with identity politics. And I swear to you that when I started this channel, I was determined. I was determined to steer away from the politics plaguing every franchise, but the more I went on, the more I realized that it was going to be impossible to keep avoiding them. Because since 2016, more and more film and TV projects have all been riddled with this bullshit until we've made it to where we are today. Star Wars, the MCU, now Amazon, and even Paramount have all jumped on the "ooh, let's change the source material to reflect the world we live in now."
They want stories and characters that reflect the world we live in today.
And then attack the fans when they don't like it train. Oh my god. How did we get to this point? And I mean, we shouldn't even be too surprised with Rings of Power. The signs were all there. And look, as far as the casting goes, believe it or not, I get it. I get that they were put between a rock and a hard place. Because if all the cast members were white, then they'd be stupidly accused of being racist. And if they weren't, then they'd be just as stupidly accused of the opposite, and called out for putting out even more of the message. So here's an idea.
Now there's an idea.
Why not just leave Tolkien's fucking world alone? But no, because there was money to be made. So they gave these 3 overpaid hacks the rails of the project meant to adapt the most beloved and influential fantasy story of the last 100 years with complete creative control of the biggest TV show in history for 5 fucking seasons. So now yes, we're all racists apparently. We're all racist somehow for not wanting diversity in our adaptations. It's funny. I'm sure it's got fuck all to do with how pathetic this show is. And you know something else that's funny? I can't remember anyone bitching about diversity when Game of Thrones came out, so what the hell are you on about? They gave these people $60 million per episode. And this is what they came up with. I mean, this ended up being way worse than anything we could have imagined. This was just beyond our worst nightmares, and do you want to know what the saddest part of it is? I'm not even a Tolkien expert. I haven't even read all the goddamn books. But I know about the lore, and even I knew that this pathetic excuse of a story was just them pulling out a turd out of their arse. Because it honestly feels like these motherfuckers just waited for Christopher Tolkien to die so they could get the rights, just so they could release this show on the anniversary of Professor Tolkien's death, and we knew. We knew from day one that these people just got the rights to the frickin' appendices from the books. How many pages is that? And it's not like those appendices are linear stories with a beginning, middle, and end. The writers for Game of Thrones had around 4,200 pages to work with, and as soon as they ran out of source material, they fucked it up.
Best season ever!
So who the hell was expecting these two to produce anything of quality? Like, I'm being serious. This is a genuine question, because all it took was a couple of Google searches to realize that this show was doomed from the very beginning. So you might be wondering, what's the worst thing that this show has done, huh? Well, you can find that out pretty easily with just a simple coin toss. Was it perhaps the complete bastardization and mockery of the characters Tolkien took years of his life to create, along with focusing on totally dull new ones that nobody asked for to push their political agenda? Or was it the complete bastardization and mockery of the story and lore of Middle-earth, which Tolkien took years of his life to create, while focusing on a completely ridiculous and uneventful made-up chain of events that led to a finale completely devoid of any tension or payoff? Take your pick. Or perhaps it was what they did to Galadriel. You know, I think that if your main character is arguably the biggest problem in the entire thing, odds are you probably messed up somewhere. I mean, Galadriel should arguably not even be in this fucking show, or wearing armor, or commanding armies, or leaving her party to die, or treating such party like they're worthless, and she should be married to a husband that should be very much alive. And it turns out that these guys are worthless. Because when a troll shows up, which are meant to be, as far as I know, slow and sluggish, but that doesn't stop it from kicking every one of these elves' asses. And this show, I guess, expects the audience to have seen some of the movies at least, where the elves are portrayed as incredibly skilled in combat. Way more than any human. And yet, these guys can't keep up with a fucking troll, and there's like 6 or 7 of them. But then Galadriel just bests the thing in a matter of seconds. I mean, if all of these useless morons are slowing you down, can't fight, and you can discover all the damn clues by yourself, then why are they even there in the first place? Why is she always so perfect and everyone else so useless? And remember, this is one scene. One fucking scene from like the first 10 minutes, and it's already completely riddled with writing issues. And you can find these amateur-like screw-ups with pacing, tension, character development, you name it, in almost every single fucking scene in this mess. And you might be thinking, oh come on man, it's just a couple of scenes from the very beginning of the first episode. Surely it gets better. No! No it doesn't. Come on man, honestly, it can't be that bad. Yes! Let me just stop you right there. Yes it is. It is that bad. I mean, this pathetic excuse of a protagonist is put before the leader of Numenor, and instead of behaving and trying to earn their trust, she diminishes their culture, complains, pisses everyone off, tries to escape, threatens a man trying to kill her, calls out the queen herself who's been way too nice to her with this ridiculous unearned callback. Oh, and don't you worry, I'll get to those in a while. But she's supposed to be thousands of years old at this point, and she has the same amount of brain cells as Grima Wormtongue and less than Jar Jar Binks. But then again, with how they've messed up the lore, her age is now anyone's guess. She basically manipulates everyone around her to get what she wants, including setting sail to supposedly reclaim lands that neither she nor Numenor should give a fuck about, captures a corrupted elf who rightfully calls her out on her bullshit, and then threatens to kill every single orc in front of him while he's still alive so that he can suffer before she then kills him. These writers, man, I think they confused her for the villain. I mean, is she supposed to be the villain? Again, honest question here. What the fuck were these two morons thinking? People complain about Rey in the sequel trilogy, but she's gold compared to what they've done to poor Galadriel. At least Rey has good intentions, for the most part, and tries to do what's right. Sort of. But please someone tell me why. Why does this elf have the same blank expression for everything? It literally gets to the point where actually seeing her smile just comes across as so awkward. This was such an uninspired performance. She has zero emotion and zero personality. And I'm not even exaggerating, after 8 hours of TV, we know fuck all about her. She wants revenge on Sauron and... that's it. I kid you not, that's it. The main character literally has no character. I mean, is there even a point in comparing her to Galadriel from the original trilogy? There is nothing to compare here. And this was one character. The main character. I could write an entire video on how Halbrand was also a forgetful, cheap copy of Aragorn, and how painfully predictable it was that he was Sauron all along. Sauron, who, by the way, is in love with Galadriel and asks her to be his queen. Oh my god. Oh, I can't believe I just said that sentence out loud. But it's not just him. There's a cheap version of Gandalf, a worthless version of Frodo, with a meaningless and also worthless version of Sam. Extra characters who add nothing to the story. Characters that always make dumb, pointless decisions and are somehow always unaware of things that should be completely obvious. Because I could write another video on how uneventful and pathetic it was to see Elrond and Durin go back and forth with this, "Oh, I hate you for not coming to my wedding" or some shit. And I also can't reveal this big secret. Oh wait, I was kidding, I'll tell you anyway, so let's dig for Mithril. Oh wait, no, we shouldn't, we have to talk to my dad first. Oh, he said no, so let's not do it. No wait, we actually should do it, because if not, all the elves are all gonna die, so let's talk to my dad again to see if he changes his mind. Oh my god, who wrote this? Because I could write yet another video about how the fake hobbits are white, black, and everything in between, but hate strangers. How the fuck can you be a small, ethnically diverse nomad tribe when you hate strangers? Ooh, Speechless Man is magic, so maybe he should come along. But oh wait, he's dangerous. But oh wait, he's got magic. But oh wait, no, remember he's dangerous, so we shouldn't be— fuck's sake, this is so pathetic. But this show has already been hammered by countless fans anyway, so I'm not gonna bother getting into everything, because we'd be here until tomorrow. And who legitimately cared about these random peasants? They're all dicks anyway. Seriously, there's nothing even remotely interesting about these things. Anything to make us invested in what happens to them. And this forced, made-up romance. Yet, ironically, Arondir and probably Elrond and Elendil are the only half-decent characters in this show. But once again, we know nothing about them. Because this story doesn't flow. It stumbles. It has no compass. No freaking clue of where it wants to go or what it wants to do. No stakes. It walks around in circles. 90% of it is snail-paced, making the other normally paced 10% come across as so bizarre. Completely filled with such amateur storytelling mistakes. And these embarrassing callbacks. Why do you think they call these things half-foots rather than hobbits? Because they're obviously pretending not to be standing on the shoulders of 3 giants made by a crew of people who respected Tolkien's vision. It's obvious. And yet they still have the audacity to pull shit like this.
When in doubt, always follow your nose.
If you die, always follow your nose.
I mean, I don't even know if that's all of them, but I am not losing any more brain cells over this. I swear to you, this video could be 5 hours long, dismantling every single goddamn scene and finding one positive amongst an ocean of negatives from episode 1 to episode 8. If you take away Tolkien's name and the original Lord of the Rings trilogy that allowed this abomination to even exist, and all that you're left with is what I said at the beginning, with something completely devoid of originality. A show that's boring, a show that's lazy, a show that spits at its own source material and its own fans, but also completely fails to tell its own story miserably. I am not kidding when I tell you that the only positive that I could find apart from some of the visuals was that I think that I was more pissed off when watching the Halo show than when watching this. I was literally skipping through those last 2 Halo episodes, and at least with this one I just laughed out loud the whole way through. But that still doesn't change the fact that I couldn't even believe what I was seeing. I was in constant disbelief throughout, and yet this is what it's come to. If you would have told me as a kid that we would be getting an Obi-Wan Kenobi, Halo, and Lord of the Rings show in the same year, you would have blown me away. but this is the absolute culmination and confirmation of the fact that a shameful lack of originality in Hollywood that's been relying on sequels and prequels has been plaguing this industry for a long time now. Filled with corporate greed that only focuses on making the easiest and biggest amount of money possible. Fueled by totally blind fan bases that act like clapping seals, just brainlessly consuming anything these franchises throw at them, regardless of quality. Along with the crucial factor that are these ridiculous political agendas plaguing stories that were meant to be escapism in the first place. When you combine all of that along with the political messages that always come before the actual story that's being portrayed to the audience, have managed to combine forces and completely destroy countless projects that were meant to bring fans together, not divide them. Yet all fan bases fucking do now is argue, because they have been divided. I never thought I'd see the day all of this would make it to Lord of the Rings to ruin it as well.
Yeah, here we are.
But I gotta give massive credit to the Lord of the Rings fan base and how they united against this show. So don't spend your time watching Rings of Bullshit. There's literally countless more productive things you can do with your time. As always, thanks for sticking to the end of the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, click the bell, and drop me a comment to say if you think I'm crazy or if you agree. Follow me on Twitter, and this is all I've got for now. As always, I hope to see you all around here very often, but this is me, signing off.